Stray dog tells police officer to follow him home, calls 911 when he sees balcony. Stray dog tells police officer to follow him on and they both saved a life. Dogs have incredible bonds with their owners. They also have the ability to sense things that humans cannot. Many dogs will do anything it takes to protect their owners when they're in trouble. Well, this is the story of how a stray dog told a police officer to follow him home, calls 911 when he sees the balcony, and this dog went to extraordinary lengths to save his owner's life. The Germantown WI officer named Jeff Gonzalez was on patrol one night and he saw Black Lab running around the neighborhood. His first instinct was that the dog was lost and was just trying to get home. He thought that if he could get the dog to come to his car, he could see if he had tags to let the officer know which house dog lived in. When he found out where the dog lived, he could take him back to his owner. He assumed the dog would be friendly and he could approach him. When the officer pulled up beside the dog, he started jumping around the dog. That is, he believed the dog was just overexcited to be out of the house. Maybe the dog was scared when the dog kept running away from the officer, and then, coming back to the officer, he realized the dog was trying to tell him something. Officer Gonzalez was curious about what the dog was doing, so he decided to follow him. He parked his car and he ran after the dog on foot. Finally, the dog got to a house and he ran up on the front porch. When the officer got to the porch, he saw a woman sitting in a chair in her pajamas. Since it was very cold outside, the officer realized that this was strange. When he got closer to the woman, he saw her skin was very pale. Her lips were blue. Since it was so cold outside, he was worried the woman had frozen to death on the porch. He quickly ran up the stairs to check the woman's vitals. She had a pulse and she was still alive. The officer radioed in for an ambulance. He knew the woman did not look good and that she needed immediate medical attention. When the ambulance arrived, neighbors began to come out of their homes to see what was going on. Finally, Officer Gonzalez was able to talk to some people who might know who the woman was on the porch and where the dog came from. The neighbors told the officer the woman name was Crystal and the Black Lab was her dog, John Boy. According to the neighbors, Crystal adopted John Boy from the local shelter. Just about a year earlier, when John Boy saw that there was something wrong with Crystal, he realized that there was nobody around, so it was up to him to get her the help that she needed. She rescued him, so it was his turn to rescue her. There's a good chance that John Boy didn't realize that Officer Gonzalez was a police officer. I mean, he is a dog after all. He probably doesn't know what a police officer is. What he did now was that the officer was a human and that this human might be able to save his human's life. Fortunately, the officer was willing to follow the ambulance, took Crystal to the hospital where she stayed for a few days. According to the doctors, if John Boy had not gone for help when he did, it would be a good chance that Crystal would not have made it through. While Crystal was still in the hospital, her daughters met with Officer Gonzalez. They wanted to hear his version of the story and also to thank him for saving their mother's life. Crystal's daughter has told the officer that their mother had rescued John the Light from the local shelter. Her daughters stated that John Boy had been adopted 3 times before. Crystal took him in and he was returned all 3 times. They didn't return John Boy because he was a bad dog. He just wasn't a fit for the families that took him. The fact that he was returned to the shelter was a godsend for Crystal. Had one of those families kept him, he never would have been around for Crystal when she needed him most. When the story of John Boy's heroism got out, many people asked if he was trained to seek help and save lives. The answer to the public's question was no, as far as Crystal and her family knew. John Boy had never had any special training. He was just doing what many dogs do. He saw his owner was in big trouble and he did everything he could to save her life. Crystal's daughter believes that John Boy saved her mother because her mother saved him by giving him a forever home. While Officer Gonzalez tried to give John Boy all the credit for saving Crystal's life, her daughters wanted to give credit where credit was due. If it weren't for the officer seeing the dog is in distress and going out of his way to find out why Crystal would have died. According to Crystal's daughter, her mother was alive due to a team effort between Officer Gonzalez and John Boy. She also believed that it was fate that John Boy and Crystal ended up together. There was a reason why this dog was brought to her mother, and the day that she was found unconscious on the porch was the reason. John Boy's story goes to show you that while police officers are heroes, dogs can be heroes too. When the story was posted on social media, it quickly went viral. It was shared thousands of times. People all over the world who heard the story believed that John Boy and Officer Gonzalez were true heroes, and we're not going to argue with that. Subscribe for more.